Hello again, everybody, and welcome to the Warrior Report here on HBC TV 25. I'm Justin Barrientos. Thank you for joining us here today. We are brought to you by Russell & Associates and coming to you from the 111 Riverfront Building in downtown Winona, the Latch Development Center. And we're talking basketball here on HBC, starting out with the men and head coach Todd Eisner. The games this weekend, you split. However, we've talked, over the years that you've been here at Winona State, you've said you live and die by the three-point shot. It came back this weekend, and so it was a close game against St. Cloud, and then you get the win over Duluth. Tell me your thoughts on this weekend.
Yeah, played better offensively, overall. Certainly statistically we did, and so, that's encouraging, and hope that we can, carry that forward through, hopefully the rest of the season. The disappointing thing is Friday was a game we needed to get and probably should have gotten, and it just shows you, how one or two possessions every game can come back to haunt you when you're playing a lot of close games, and that was really the case on Friday. We let St. Cloud start 4 for 4 from the floor in the first 3 minutes of the first half, and we let them shoot 5 for 5 from the floor the first 3 minutes of the second half, and the rest of the game they shot 31%. Mm-hmm. So 6 minutes of kind of uninspired defense really came back to haunt us. Made a good comeback to have a chance to get it to one possession late and just didn't get it done.
Well, let's talk about that comeback, because it was a 14-point lead at one point, and then you were able to claw back, and it was only a 4-point deficit at the end. So what are some of the things that were going through your mind, and what were you telling your players during that 14-point stretch?
Well, we've done it a lot this year. We've battled. It's been one of the good characteristics of our team is we've continued to fight and haven't really let a lot of games get away from us. And so it didn't really surprise me that we were able to come back. We just didn't make enough plays on either end of the floor. Whenever we got it to 5, they'd get a 3 or an easy 2 and get it back to 7 or 8 and just put us in a tough spot. And then part of the problem, and I told our guys in film, I think yesterday, that cost us a little bit too, is that in that stretch where we were down 6 at the half and they scored the first 5 possessions of the second half, we had to kill 2 timeouts. And so I used a timeout with about 90 seconds to go, which was our last one. And so now in the last 90 seconds, we were kind of limited in terms of just playing on the fly a little bit. We didn't have a chance to call a timeout to get something set up that we could maybe define a little more clearly to our guys to get a little better chance to execute on both ends of the floor. And so, like I said, when you go through those stretches, a lot of things come back to say would have, could have, should have. And at the end of the day, it was really the first 3 minutes of both halves that cost us the game.
Since you brought it up, what are your thoughts on using timeouts? Are you a coach that likes to have one in your back pocket towards the end of the game?
Well, and like I said, I mentioned yesterday in film, so we get to the Duluth game, and it was just one of those stretches where there wasn't a dead ball early in the game, and I think we got to like the 12:40 mark of the first half before a dead ball got us to the first media timeout, and our guys were dying. And I had a couple guys at the scorer's table to sub in, and we took some bad shots and gave up some easy possessions. And I kept looking at the clock, wanting to use the timeout because I knew guys needed a rest. Mm-hmm. But I also remember the night before, where at the end of the game I didn't have the timeout, so I let it go. And it really did cost us probably in terms of just giving up some easy opportunities and taking some bad shots. But I wanted to keep those timeouts in case we needed them later in the game, which we weren't afforded the opportunity to have on Friday night. So it kind of has to go with the flow of the game. You certainly keep in mind the media timeouts at the college level, mm-hmm. That hopefully can get you to a timeout instead of using one of your own. But sometimes you have no choice.
All right, let's talk about that Minnesota-Duluth game then, because they were receiving votes, but you get an 84-72 win. Tell us, what was the difference between Friday and Saturday?
Well, we started out really well offensively, and continued to do that throughout the game. Connor Dillon was really big, obviously had 30 points, and Connor Drew played really well for us. And so when those two, I think, combined for 50 on the night of our 84, and it was really a good game overall. I thought, other than maybe that first 5 to 7 minute stretch where we got a little tired, I thought we defended at a pretty good level. Drew Blair, I think we held the 2 for 10 from the 3, which he can really get it going, and he could be 7 or 8 for 10 on many nights also. And so Austin Andrews hurt us early and then didn't really become a big factor the rest of the game. So I thought we did a lot of good things offensively, which was great to see for us and hopefully gives us some confidence. And then I thought defensively against a really talented offensive team, I thought we did enough overall to put us in a position to have a really good road win against a really good team.
All right, Connor Dillon is the guest, and you mentioned he had 30 points in that game against Duluth. When you see that a player is having that kind of a night when they're on, do you kind of change your game plan to maybe try to feed them a little bit more and get them more involved in the offense?
Well, I think we need to. Coach Melvick does a great job kind of incorporating what we do offensively and kind of getting guys set up to take advantage of their strengths. And Connor can really drive it to the basket and uses athleticism near the rim to finish. And then he made a couple of threes, which I know he was happy to see, and had gone through a kind of a rough patch shooting the ball from the arc. So with his ability to score the basketball, if he can knock down a couple perimeter shots, it brings everything else, I think, to the forefront in terms of what he's able to do for us. And it's been a new experience for him. Number one, he's healthy enough compared to last year. But with Alec gone, he's had to take on a really big burden offensively for us, and we need him to be good, every game. And then the other teams obviously game plan for him. So it's been a new challenge for him. He's handled it really well. He's averaging, I think, close to 20 points a game, but he's getting everybody's best shot. He's getting everybody's game plan, and that's not going to change the last 5 weeks of the season.
All right, on the road this week, Minot and Mary. Tough road trip, just getting there. But then you're all kind of bunched together in the NSIC standings, so really important games. What are your thoughts on the games this weekend?
Yeah, everyone's going to be big now. I think Minot's 6-6, and I think Mary's 4-8, I think, in the league. But we obviously had some trouble late in the year with Mary, and Kai Huntsberry's gone, but they're playing very similar and have a lot of the same pieces back. And then Minot just does a great job of executing on the offensive end of the floor, and so we're going to have to be really locked in both nights defensively. It's a tough trip. Obviously, it challenges you mentally, and so we're going to need to be tough-minded, and then we're going to need to go out and defend at a high level, and hopefully we can carry over what we did Saturday offensively and bring it with us on a trip to North Dakota.
All right, I appreciate the time again. Good luck this weekend.
I appreciate it. Thanks.
All right, we're going to take a break here on the Warrior Report. When we come back, we'll talk with Connor Dillon right after this. And welcome back to the Warrior Report here on HBC TV 25. We're brought to you by Russell & Associates and coming to you from the 111 Riverfront Building, the Latch Development Center in downtown Winona. Time now to talk to Connor Dillon. Thanks for joining us here today. Let's start off by talking about the Minnesota-Duluth game, because that's kind of how we ended with Coach Eisner. What was going through your mind as you're scoring the points and getting 30?
Going into the game, we knew it was going to be like a really good team we were about to play. Minnesota Duluth, they have a whole lot of guys, all sophomores, and I've played them growing up, but we knew that they were going to be a pretty tough team, so we knew after not showing out Friday that Saturday was going to be a lot tougher challenge that we needed to be ready to play.
All right, for those of us who have never had that type of a game, what's kind of going through your head as the shots are falling, and do you know ahead of time that maybe you're a little bit more on one night than another night?
Well, I was going into the game, I was hoping I'd maybe hit like a 3 for the first time in a few games, so I was obviously going in a little shooting slump, but I was happy to see one go in, and then after that, I just kind of thought my confidence would go up, and throughout the whole game, it was there. It felt good.
All right, as Coach Eisner said, you're going to see a little bit more defensive pressure now as people start to try to take you out of games. How do you think you're going to be able to handle that, and what are some of the things that you need to do to still be able to produce?
Just getting ready throughout the week and just being mentally prepared, because I know throughout Scout the other teams are just going to be running through plays that all we do, and just having toughness and just finishing off 2 feet. It's what my coaches want me to do all the time. So just having that toughness and being able to be mentally prepared for those games.
All right, very good. Let's go back a little bit and talk about your days before Winona State and Peoria. Your brother was on the show last week, so he gave us a little insight onto what he did and kind of how you guys have played together. But he played soccer as his other sport. You played football. as your other sport. Tell us a little bit about your football career.
Yeah, so I played football for 3 years. I didn't play football my junior year, but my freshman and sophomore year, I just wanted to try something different because I played soccer with Declan growing up my whole life. But I just wanted to try something different, and I mean, it was fun. I think it helped me maybe get tougher, and then I took a break my junior year, and then my senior year I came back, and it was just really fun with playing with all my friends. So it's a good experience.
All right. What position did you play?
I played wide receiver, and we ran like a wing T offense. So I was a wing at times, and then also safety defense.
Okay. So how has football kind of helped you with your basketball game?
I'd just say kind of just being tough. I mean, I've never really like growing up until high school known like how to tackle or anything. So like just going through contact and stuff, and also being able to like understand offenses and stuff like on the defensive end, understanding what they're doing and stuff.
Does it help you take a charge because you're used to more of the contact?
I'm still looking to take my first charge this year, but I have done sometimes, but it does, yeah, I can't help.
Okay. One of the other things that we talked with your brother about last week was there is a charity kind of event that in basketball where you guys coached against each other. You guys had basketball teams and coached. Tell us from your perspective how that went and what it was like to coach against your brother.
Yeah, it's a Curly Boo Johnson camp. He's like a former Harlem Globetrotter, and it's just a really fun camp. We usually get to pick our teams, and we have a team name, and we usually just go at it with each other, so it's fun. We actually participated in the camp growing up too, so I mean, I think we played each other in the championship one time, and it was really fun.
So who's the better coach?
I think I would say I'm the better coach because I took my team to the championship, and I think we knocked him out first round, so it was good.
All right, very good. I got to talk a little bit about the sibling rivalry because, you know, we've heard in practice that sometimes the other team members will just kind of let you guys go if there's any problems on the court. Tell us a little bit about what that's like from your perspective.
Yeah, I would say at the beginning when our other teammates would see us arguing, they'd kind of think it's more of a serious matter, but I mean, now that I think they're kind of used to, like, if we're bickering at each other, that it's just, I mean, we're going to be fine. We're having a moment for a second, but I mean, at the end of the day, I know me and Declan are going to be fine, but we just kind of get on each other at times.
You know, it's an interesting situation to be playing alongside your brother in college. How do you guys make each other better as you move along in your college career?
I mean, usually we live with each other, obviously, so we kind of just keep each other accountable. So, I mean, if I'm gonna go shoot late at night or early in the morning, he usually check up on me and see if he wants to come with. Or, I mean, we'll usually just like, during school we'll go get breakfast and then go shoot or something. So, I mean, usually just keeping each other accountable. That's the main thing. Okay,
and then this weekend, Minot and Mary, we said it's a kind of difficult road trip. What are your thoughts on this weekend and what you guys have to do to be successful?
I'm excited. I've actually never taken the Minot and Mary trip yet, so it's going to be a long bus ride. But we know they're two pretty good teams. Minot, they have some older transfers, JUCO guys that are pretty athletic, and they run their sets well, so that'll be a good task for us. And then Mary, again, we lost to them last year, so we know that we need to get that win back. And again, they just have some athletic guards, a lot of pretty big guys as well, and we'll be ready.
All right, well, I appreciate the time this week, and good luck this weekend.
Thank you.
All right, we're going to take a break here on the Warrior Report, and when we come back, we'll talk women's basketball with head coach Ana Wurtz right after this.
Food, shelter, fast internet. It's all we really need. Good thing HBC has the fast, reliable internet it takes to power all the Wi-Fi hungry gadgets in your home, all at once. With speeds like these, get smooth HD streaming video, gaming, music, and surfing, all with no waiting, no buffering, no kidding. You want it. You need it. Get it. Call or click hbci.com and upgrade your internet today.
And welcome back to the Warrior Report here on HBC TV 25. We are brought to you by Russell & Associates and coming to you from the 111 Riverfront Building, the Latch Development Center in downtown Winona. Talking women's basketball now with head coach Ana Wurtz. And a couple of disappointing games this weekend, and really disappointing second quarters in both games. Is there anything you can say about the second quarter and why that's been so difficult, at least this weekend?
Yeah, I mean, immediately as soon as the game gets over, you want to look back and figure out why. So I pull up the film very quickly as soon as we get on the bus, just wondering what happened. There was a variety of things. I mean, one, and we got good shots at times. Most of the time, I would say, is we got good looks. I think the other thing we had spacing-wise within our offense, every now and then we had some spacing issues. But I mean, for the most part, I saw good shots taken, and that's our goal every time, is to get good looks. I think we're learning how to play without Maddie Shimmons too right now. So it's just another person that was kind of a creator and a playmaker. So we need some other people to step up into that role.
All right, and so what has happened with Maddie? Because I know that she was not available or limited the last time that you were at home, and I know you talked about her before. What's happened?
Well, she had that ankle injury in Puerto Rico and tore ligaments a long time ago with that. And so ever since then, it's been a little weak, but she had been playing on it and playing really well. So I think we all just kind of forgot that it was an issue. But in the meantime, her Achilles has acted up with that. So it's kind of a day-to-day thing. If we get her back or not, we don't know whether that will happen in the near future, later future, or this season. So.
Okay, all right. So St. Cloud State, let's talk about that game first. Talk about, besides the second quarter, how your team played.
Yeah, I mean, they run the Princeton offense, if you're familiar, if you watch like Stanford women's basketball ever. A lot of screening action, and we handled that really, really well. We defended them pretty well. But yeah, it was on the other end. And you're also going against two of the teams that notoriously are two of the best defensive teams in the league. So it's no surprise. I mean, they hold everyone else to 50, but we would have liked to hit that number. So yeah, just difficult teams that really lock down on defense, and there's not many holes out there. So when you get them, you got to take advantage of them, and yeah, we weren't able to all the time.
So after that game, then what was kind of the rebound for the next day? What were some of the things that you kind of instructed your teams to kind of look at and work on against Duluth? Yeah,
we worked on offensive spacing again, definitely, and two different teams offensively. So Duluth is going to come at you from a different angle, not as many necessarily screens that they're looking to play off of, but drive, kick, they have the ability to do a lot of things. They also have the best player in the country in Brooke Olsen, so there's a lot of focus on her and trying to, limit her touches. But in the meantime, other people got hot.
Well, let's talk about that, because a lot of times you talk to coaches and say, if you know that there's one big player that you're going to be facing, do you just kind of say, okay, well, they're going to get their points anyway, so let's focus in on something else, or do you attack them right away?
Yeah. It's a balance, I think, for me. We used to do that where we would really take one person out of system and really take away them. With post players, it's a little more unique. You don't just, because they can create. Anytime you get an inside touch, if you just let them catch it all day, they're going to not only score, but in the end, they're going to end up creating for everybody else too. So post players, I don't know. With guards, there is a way that you could probably take a guard out of the play a little bit better. But we have more of a balanced approach, I would say, is we want to limit their touches, and there's certainly a focus on that player, but it's not just solely focused. So I would say more of a balanced approach on that.
Okay, and going along with balance, that's kind of the scoring that you're getting right now, because I think from the games this weekend, there wasn't a player that reached double-digit scoring, so everybody is kind of getting involved a little bit. Yeah. Is that something that you think is beneficial to your team, or would you rather have somebody that maybe goes off and gets on a hot streak? Yeah,
well, we could use it a little bit, certainly, but I think that is the strength of our team, is that we have many players that are capable of kind of going off in that particular evening, and I think if we're going to pull away with some wins, we're going to have a couple people every night that do that. But yeah, I would say, again, it just kind of, you got to have creators, people that are going to create for others, and yeah, we're going to have Sergio on here next, but I think she's somebody that people don't haven't known yet that she's capable of doing that. You know, it's just waiting for her time, and I'm hoping that's now.
All right, yeah, plenty of games left in the season for that. So it's a road trip this weekend. We talked about with the men. It's the long road trip and one that not a lot of people look forward to. But tell us how you match up against Minot and Mary this weekend.
Goodness, I just get done with watching Mary film. They have post players. They always go into their posts. Low block, sit on the block. They have your true inside post presence that doesn't leave the lane. So really focused on that. Just went through and focusing on what their weaknesses are as post players and seeing if we can take those away. But they surround you with shooters too, so it complicates things. Minot, I got to get to that one a little bit more. I know a little bit about their offense. What they do is simple, but simple can work. And so we will probably focus on that one the next couple days.
All right, and anything else that you need to work on in practice this week before those games?
Us, always us, just kind of going back on constantly. I mean, transition defense is a big piece. I thought that was one thing that we had checked off, but every now and then you kind of backtrack on that. Certainly something you got to work on every week, rebounding. Us, I mean, working on how we're going to score, clearly. Not sure how we can replicate a second quarter in practice, but
sure.
That would be nice.
Just one last question. We have a minute left. You mentioned transition defense. So what is something that you need to work on that? Is it getting back? Is it trying to stop the advancement? Or
Absolutely. I mean, our goal is just to get back, and we had been really good at that. But once you stop seeing the ball go in, you get deflated a little bit. And then now I'm kind of looking back at the film from this weekend, and our sense of urgency in getting back and stopping easy scoring opportunities for them wasn't there this weekend. And I know it comes with you can't let the offensive side of the ball affect the defense, but we did this weekend for the first time all year, so that's going to be something that we're working on again.
All right. Well, I appreciate the time this week, and good luck this weekend.
Thank you very much.
All right. We're going to take a break here on the Warrior Report. When we come back, Ava Sergio will join us right after this. And welcome back to the Warrior Report here on HBC TV 25, coming to you from the 111 Riverfront Building in downtown Winona, the Latch Development Center, and brought to you by Russell & Associates. Time now to talk to Ava Sergio. Thanks for joining us here today. You just heard what Coach had to say, that, waiting for your breakout and waiting for you to, kind of make yourself known to some of the fans. When you hear that, what's your reaction to that?
I mean, I've also kind of been waiting for my moment. Last year, getting hurt, I felt ready last year. Kind of felt like that was my time, and then it wasn't. Mm-hmm. So coming back this year, I mean, you want to come back as good as you were, and that's very difficult. Mm-hmm. So that was pretty challenging, and me and our coaches, I mean, we're still realizing that, like, I do have work to do, and I'm not in that spot that I was, but I need to get there, and I'm doing everything I can to get there, and yeah.
Well, I'll say this, from a fan perspective, from a broadcaster perspective, it was kind of heartbreaking to us to see the injury that happened to you last year, because you had such a great start to last season. So how do you work through that injury? What were your thoughts later in the season where you're kind of just watching your teammates and you can't be out there on the floor?
Yeah, I mean, it's extremely challenging. I've never been injured for the whole season, and that took a toll mentally on me that I couldn't relate to injured athletes before. And I think it's something that you have to go through to understand how much of a toll it takes on you. Mm-hmm. But about 3 weeks in after the injury, we thought it was just an ankle sprain, and we thought that I'd be able to get back in about a month. And then as I was trying to get back, we realized it was something more than that, and it ended up being a bone bruise, which took me out for the whole season. And that's when my mindset changed to, okay, you have to prepare yourself to sit the rest of the season. And so I just tried to give to the team in other ways. I tried to be as loud as possible on the bench. At the time, we only had 2 coaches, so I was trying extremely hard to anything Coach Wurtz needed from me, and Fetch was hurt as well. Mm-hmm. Stats or anything on the bench, extra film, whatever that was. But Yeah, trying to motivate my teammates the best I could. Or, I mean, you see the game from a whole different perspective.
Sure.
So seeing what they can't necessarily see on the floor or in practice, trying to give that advice.
Do you feel being able to study the game from that perspective has made you a better player this year?
Absolutely. I mean, especially practices, and I lose it a little bit. I'll catch myself getting caught up in the game or practice, but you have to take that step back of you've seen it from the outside, and you need to look big picture a lot, like especially practices. Like if you catch the team being a little unfocused, like that was something that I noticed a lot quickly when I was sitting up was, oh, we're unfocused right now. But when you're the one being unfocused, it's a little hard to catch yourself doing it and whatnot. So yeah, it definitely gives you a whole different perspective on the game and a respect for the coaches, of that it's really in our hands. They can do as much as they can, but it's up to us at the end of the day.
All right. Let's talk a little bit about this past off season. So battling back from that injury, what was that like having to do that and also get ready for the season? How is that different than any other off season you've ever had?
Well, I actually haven't really had an off season. Freshman year, COVID cut our off season. Sophomore year was kind of my first one, I guess, but season was pushed back. And then, yeah, so the injury. It was a little different just because I was trying to get in shape while trying to be better and progress my game. So I feel like that would be the difference. I wasn't in basketball shape while trying to be better at basketball. Yeah.
So this season, we've seen you play kind of at the level that you were at last season before the injury, and also kind of getting blocks in as well. Tell us a little bit more about how you played this season and what you need to do the rest of the season.
I mean, I need to be more consistent. I think that's where like kind of my game last season is coming out, but it's inconsistent. And if the ball isn't going in the basket for me that game, then I've really been trying to lock down on rebounding and defending. And I think that's what's so great, as you talked about with Coach. It's like whoever's going to go off that game, like let's feed them. And if it's multiple of us, that's awesome. But yeah, I would say rebounding and defending, I'm just trying to focus on that and be more consistent with scoring as well.
All right, and as Coach said, it's hard to replicate some things in practice. So from a player perspective, how do you kind of get over like this weekend's the problems in the second quarter or anything like that? How do you work on that in practice or even mentally?
Yeah, I think just our intensity in practice. Actually, 2 weeks ago we had a great week of practice, and then we got our win, and we almost not let up, but we just need to keep, again, the consistency of going at each other in practice. And I think we could do a little better at replicating how they play or specific players. And it's hard when you're scouting and you're playing as the other team, you want to score the ball no matter how that is or whatever. But yeah, I think we could do a little better at this is what that girl does and trying to replicate her a little more.
Okay, and then last question for this weekend. What are some things that you need to do this weekend to be better, and what are some of the things that the team has to do to be better?
I mean, we know Mary is another post-heavy team, but again, they can kick out to great shooters. So I think I need to just step up my defense and try to really be that help person while guarding my girl. I think that showed a little in the St. Cloud game where, all right, you may be guarding her or you may be in help, but you got to be able to do both and be active in that. And that's what we've been talking about, me being more active on defense. So I got to be active and offense will come,
All right, well, I appreciate the time this week, and good luck this weekend.
All right, thank you very much.
All right, and thank you for watching the Warrior Report. We'll see you next week here on HBC TV 25.